Hey guys, it's Dawn here. Welcome back to Bridal Business. I'm so excited that you're sharing another week with me this week. Today's show is a little bit different. I have a special guest with me today, actually a co-host with me today, which is Sue McLaurin. Now, if any of you guys have been listening to the show for a while, I interviewed Sue back in episode 14. Sue is a professional freelance makeup artist with over 16 years experience in the bridal fashion commercial and TV industry. And she began her business basically from scratch up in far north Queensland and grew her wedding business exponentially over a short period of time. Now, I talked to Sue all about her story and how she got started back in episode 14. So go back and check that out. Sue is also the creator of the Bridal Beauty Pro app, which you guys have heard me talk about before on the podcast and on my live streams. Now, we have had lots of changes to the Bridal Beauty Pro app, and I will be asking Sue to come back again and talk to me about all the changes that have been happening with the app, which I'm really excited to do. But for today, I've actually brought Sue on to answer some questions that I can't answer. So Sue, having a background in TV and fashion and film, editorial, commercial, I thought she would be the best person placed to answer some of your questions that I've been getting about how we grow our business in the wedding industry, but also as makeup artists and hairstylists, being able to take on other jobs in things like commercial and editorial and fashion. So who better than to get Sue to come on, be my co-host today, and I'm going to let her pretty much take the lead on this. So Sue, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Well, gosh, it has been a while since we've chatted. You know, that 16 years is now 18. And I've actually just gone through a name change too. So I'm going through that at the moment. So, and a big rebranding, which has been something that I've put off for a long time. So I'm now Sue Louise, which is who I actually have been for a long time. But yeah, so I've dropped the McLaurin, and if you want to know why, you can go over and check out my blog on that. But thank you. Yes, I think, you know, it's one of the questions that I get asked a lot as a business coach and an educator is, how can I get more into commercial and editorial work? So yeah, a lot of people do start their business like I did in bridal or with personal clients, but making that shift from there to editorial and commercial, or not even necessarily making the shift, but just adding that extra feather to your bow, is something that I find a lot of makeup artists and hairstylists do aspire to. So for me, that shift came about when I moved from far north Queensland down to Brisbane. And so I had my business for 4 years up there. And as you said, thank you, I did grow that business very quickly, but it was all bridal. So I was doing 150 brides a year. I think when I was up there, I did like one TV commercial and maybe 2 or 3 very small fashion or commercial jobs. There just wasn't the market there. So when I moved down to Brisbane, while I still wanted to do weddings because I love them so much, a big part of my focus then shifted to being able to work during the week. Right. My children were a little bit older. They were at school. So I didn't want to spend all weekend, every weekend working. I wanted to spend that time with my kids. And I find this a lot with artists whose kids are in that kind of primary school age bracket. So, you know, they're sitting at home all week doing nothing and working all weekends, and they want to shift that around. So this is where commercial and editorial work can really dovetail quite nicely with your bridal business as well.
So you think it can work together quite nicely?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look, and it depends on your market. You know, I'm in Brisbane. It's a relatively small market here. There are probably a handful of makeup artists here who can earn a full-time income from just doing commercial, editorial, TV commercials. But most makeup artists here do need that wedding business or teaching, which, you know, over the last few years has been a lot of opportunities for teaching diploma. With the, you know, the way we've had government funding here. But it's, you know, commercial and TV work for the most part isn't quite enough in this market. Now, I know you're in Melbourne, but definitely Melbourne and Sydney, they're larger markets. So you find that artists are able to niche down and specialize in one side of the industry or the other there. But it doesn't really matter where you are. I think that it is totally possible to do both. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And so from the point of view, if someone does want to get into this, what's the difference between commercial work and editorial work?
That is a great question. And I do find that there is a lot of confusion about those different types of work.
Yeah.
So often people say, I want to do editorial work, or I want to get more paid editorial work. And the thing is that editorial isn't actually well paid at all. And some of it isn't paid at all. But the thing is that you need to do the editorial to get the commercial work. So, you know, it kind of leads into. So the way I like to describe it is commercial work is a job where there is a client. So the purpose of the shoot is for somebody to be selling a product or a service, but basically they're doing the shoot for the purposes of making a profit. And this is one of the other reasons that I say you should always be being paid for commercial work, unless perhaps it's like a junior designer who's just starting out and you want to kind of help her out.
Yeah.
And then editorial work, on the other hand, is often work that you do, and it can be like a test shoot or a TFP that gets submitted to a magazine for publication. And there's really two types of editorial. So there's that work that you submit, and then there is sometimes work that is commissioned by the magazine. So there's different types of editorial work. So you've got your fashion or beauty editorials. So if you open a copy of Vogue and go to the last third of the magazine, those beautiful images there, that is your fashion or beauty editorials. The other type of editorial comes in magazines like Women's Weekly, Who Weekly, New Idea, those sort of magazines. And they're often like real life stories. They might be about a celebrity. They might be about an ordinary person who's had an extraordinary experience.
Yeah.
And the magazine is doing a write-up or a story on that person. So that sort of editorial work is usually paid because it's commissioned by the magazine, but the rates aren't the same as they are on commercial work. But as I said, we do the editorial work to get us to the commercial work. So hopefully that clears up a little bit about that misconception around what is what there.
Yeah, totally. And so when you're doing, so let's say that you do get, or you do want to then look for some of those paid jobs. And let's say you've done some TFP. So for those of you who are new to the industry, that's what I call it time for print, where basically we all give our time and our services. That would be the photographer, maybe even a fashion designer, could be a hairstylist, makeup artist. So we give our time, and then in return we get the prints. So do you agree with me with that, Sue? We get the prints back from the photographers.
Back in the day it was time for print, because the photographer would actually get photos printed out and give them to you, and you could put those physical photos in your actual portfolio book. It then kind of changed to TFCD, time for CD, where the photographer would give you a CD with the images on it. And now we should just call it TFD, time for Dropbox.
Time for digital. Absolutely.
Because that's all that really happens now. You know, the photographer will send you a link to the final images.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. So doing those, I mean, the old school way is to call them test shoots, test shoots, TFP, whatever you want to call it. They are shoots where people will get together and collaborate. There is no commercial interest. So there's no client who is calling the shots and saying, well, this is what I want to shoot. It's a collaborative, or it should be a collaborative effort between the photographer, the stylist, the hair and makeup artist, and sometimes the model as well. And everybody gives their time to get back images that are going to advance their portfolio. And this is a really important thing here. You know, we're using these images to build our portfolio. And as we build our portfolio of those sort of images, what happens is decision makers, that is photographers, producers, creative directors, people that work for production agencies, ad agencies, will see those images and know that we have worked in a team, that we can do makeup for and hairstyling for photography. And that is when we start to book that sort of work. So that's why I'm saying, you know, we need to do that editorial and those test shoots to get that commercial work. Because a commercial client or a decision maker in the commercial world, whether that be a commercial photographer or a, you know, a producer at an ad agency, or, you know, any of those sort of decision makers, they are not going to look at a bridal portfolio and book that person to come and do a commercial job.
Absolutely. Now, okay. So yeah, I want to talk to you about portfolios, because that's another question I get asked.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead onto that one, when it comes to, let's say we have got a portfolio, and we have so we are doing weddings. We do have a portfolio set up now. So before we talk about kind of how to set up those portfolios, which I do want to ask you about, this is exactly what I was about to ask you. I think you're kind of going to go into it there, was how do we then differentiate ourselves between the bridal work and then having a portfolio where we'd like to be booked as a makeup artist or as a hairstylist for commercial. So let's say we have built up this amazing portfolio of work. What do we now do with it? How do we present that when we do have a day job of bridal and special occasion work? How do the two meet together, or do they not? Do we keep them separate?
And I think that is the crux of the issue. So it's making that, and that's what I'm talking about, making that shift from one to the other, which is what I had to do when I moved from Far North Queensland to Brisbane. So I had, you know, I'd done like, I don't know, 350 weddings or something. I had this amazing portfolio of work, but it was all brides. So if you have just been doing brides and you want to move into that editorial field, it's almost like you have to start again, because it's like, it's a different side of the industry. You know, it would be like if you want to go and work in film, you need to learn special effects. So if you want to work in commercial and editorial, you need to build up that body of work that shows that you can do that sort of work. So It is a matter of going and setting up some test shoots yourself, or, you know, reaching out to photographers and other people who are doing test shoots. There's plenty of Facebook groups where you can find other creatives who are doing that sort of work. And, you know, you kind of have to start at the bottom, and then you do some shoots, and then you work with better people, and you work with better people. And one of my mentors, Tanya Russell, talks about this concept of testing up. So that means that every shoot you do, every test shoot that you do builds on what you did before, and you should be getting better and better images for your portfolio. Because here's the thing, with your images, it's not just about makeup. And when those decision makers, those commercial photographers, those designers, those, you know, those producers, when they are looking at your portfolio, they're not looking at the makeup. Because they don't understand makeup. What they are looking at is the image as a whole. So, and I always say that it takes all of the elements to create a good image, an image that is going to book you work. So it's not just the makeup, it's the model, it's the lighting, it's the posing, it's the styling, it's all of those things have to work together to create a great image. And if one of those things is a little bit off, you can do the most amazing makeup, but it's going to be a shit image. Sorry for the, pardon the French, but, you know, if it's a bad image, if the one part is bad, it brings the whole image down. So, and that's where a lot of makeup artists kind of get a little bit caught, because now we're living in this social media age of Instagram. We all know that what works best on Instagram is photos taken with your iPhone, you know. And I talk with a lot of other editorial and commercial makeup artists about this, and we say, like, I can go and work on a shoot. So I worked on a fashion shoot on Tuesday, and I took a whole bunch of behind the scenes photos of the model when I'd finished her makeup. That is what I post on Instagram. I get more traction with those sort of images than I do if I wait till the actual lookbook or the campaign comes out and I post those images. So the difference there being, and I might have gotten ahead of myself a little bit here, but so, you know, this is the mentality that a lot of makeup artists have. It's, oh, we just need those behind the scenes because it's all about the makeup. That might be true for social media, for Instagram, but it's not true if you want to get booked as a commercial makeup artist. So that's where you need those professional photos, and you need to have them in a website.
Okay. So what you're saying is, so what you're saying is, if you want to grow yourself as a makeup artist in general, and you want to be looked at perhaps by other collaborators, all that kind of behind the scenes stuff, and how professional you are at doing your work and how good your makeup or hair styling is, that helps to find the collaborative minds around you. But what that's not doing, it's not going to be what a producer or a director or anything is looking at when they want to book you or hire you. They are looking at the polished images, and they're looking at everything. So I'm with you. And so basically, are you saying then really that you were saying about, you kind of have to start from scratch and build your portfolio. So are you saying then that those people who are doing bridal and those that want to then do commercial and or editorial work, should they have different websites? Should they have two separate websites, or should they just, because I think that's the key, isn't it? That's the question I know I get asked all the time. So I do a lot of commercial work, but I also do a lot of weddings. And should I have one website or should I have two? How many Instagram accounts should I have? And I'm a little bit like, I'm going to ask Sue, or do you know Sue? I refer them to you because I don't have the answer.
Yeah, and look, there's a couple of different schools of thought on this. And the thing is, back in the day, all we needed was the website. But now you've got to have your website, your Facebook page, your Instagram, and some artists are talking about using TikTok, for heaven's sake, as another way of promoting their business. There's so many more platforms, and it becomes almost a full-time job in itself. Managing that social media and managing your online presence. But to get back to a question about websites, when I first moved to Brisbane, there was definitely a school of thought where you did need to have two websites. And I subscribed to that view for a long time. I had a bridal website and a commercial and editorial website, and I kind of linked the two together. And then a while ago, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to just put it all together in one website. So I think the thing is, obviously, you need to have separate sections. And again, I think this comes down to your market. Like if you're working in a market there is a very busy fashion and editorial market like Sydney or Melbourne, which has a large commercial market, you probably might want to, at the beginning, as you're becoming established, have a separate website for that sort of work. Because there is a little bit of this thing out there amongst photographers and other people of, oh, she's just a wedding makeup artist, as if you can't do that sort of work. So, and I know that was something that I was kind of trying to not be painted with that brush of being just a bridal makeup artist when I first moved here. So I did keep that work separate. And I know quite a number of makeup artists that do that. They successfully work across both sides of the industry, but they do keep the website separate.
I've seen some makeup artists, they'll go, so for their sort of commercial side of things, they have their name as, so I'd be like Dawn Rose makeup artist, and that's how they're known in the industry, that's how they're booked by their name. But then they might have a separate website which is Bridal by Dawn or something like that, so they keep it separate. So they have their professional name as their business name, where they are getting the professional clients. And I think as well, Sue, like I also think as well that with bridal, brides don't tend to go to your website now to check out your galleries, because people are very time poor. And I feel like they do, they want to see beautiful photos on websites, don't get me wrong. But I feel like if they want to look at some of the amazing things that you're producing, that's what Facebook and Instagram are for. They're actually coming to bridal stylists on Facebook and Instagram. They're looking through their images there. So when they go to their websites, they're actually really looking for probably their prices or where they're located, or, how they can make a booking. Whereas I think tell me if I'm wrong, but whereas anyone who wants to book someone for commercial editorial work, they're looking for those images. They are specifically seeking them out, and they want to know, what have you done? What have you been producing, and what does, like you're saying, the overall image, what are the professional images? Whereas I think that maybe brides and everyday clients are a little bit more a little bit more relaxed with the type of photos that you don't it doesn't have to be those polished photos of the bride. It can be a few behind the scenes, it can be a few before and afters, it can be you just, you know, you actually doing the job, or people take a few snaps of you actually doing the job. So I feel like with bridal and kind of like our gallery, it can be a little bit less, I guess, professional, whereas, you know, when it comes to photography and actually booking, you know, commercial clients, they are looking for the professional side of you. So I kind of get why makeup artists have had separate websites, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really good point. And I think that one of the key things there is, you know, yes, people are time poor and they just want to look at something very quickly. And I think the issue with our social media is, of course, to have a social media profile that people are going to find, we do need to be posting consistently. Now, how many people have a fantastic new image every day to post? Not very many. And you look at some of the top makeup artists, and when I say top, I mean some of the makeup artists with the largest followings on social media, and a lot of them, and I know this for a fact, are creating content regularly, like at least weekly, so that they do have new work to post all the time. Now, this is not client work. And because, you know, this is a bit of an aside, but if you are working in the commercial field, a lot of the work that you do isn't going to make its way onto your social media, because it's not the sort of work that, you know, that obviously resonates with the social media audience.
Yes.
So we have to obviously tailor, and this is a big point too about portfolio, is that you need to tailor your portfolio to the sort of work that you're looking to book. So if you are just looking to book brides, you want to be posting photos of brides. That's and right. You know, you, Dawn, you talk about the different types of brides.
Yeah.
And, you know, so for example, if your ideal bride is a natural bride, you want to be posting photos of natural brides.
That's right.
You know, because then those brides that want that 15 color halo eye with a cut crease are going to look at your work. Oh, that's not the makeup artist for me. So, you know, that's the key thing. We don't always have that new work to be posting on social media, which is why we do all those behind the scenes sort of things. And that is fine there, because it's, you know, and another thing I talk about with social media is repurposing a lot of that old content, because how often do people scroll more than like maybe 3 finger flicks through your work? They're not going to go to the end of the 487 photos that you have to look at what you've been doing. The big difference with a web portfolio is, this is like, now anyone old enough to remember records, before we had CDs, before we had Spotify.
Have a little record player just there.
Yeah, that bands used to put out albums, and then every 3 or 4 albums, they'd do a greatest hits.
Yes.
So they'd take some of the songs off those 3 or 4 albums and they'd put them on one album, and it would be a greatest hit. So that's the analogy I like to use, but I'm going to have to find another one, because a lot of people just look at me and go, what's an album? What's
I think even CDs are irrelevant now as well.
Yeah, I know. Totally.
No?
I know. But so your website and the portfolio you have on your website should just be your greatest hits.
Right.
It doesn't need updating every day. My big rule, and this is another nugget that I got from Tanya way back in the day, was all killer, no filler. So if you've only got 5 great images to put on your website, that's all you should put on.
Yeah,
that's
just post them.
Having 5 great images, 20 mediocre, and 5 that you kind of look at and go, oh, I really need to get rid of that. Like if you don't look at those images and go, that is a killer image, that's the best work I can do, it doesn't belong on your website, because you're only as strong as your weakest image. And those decision makers are going to come on and they're going to look very quickly. They don't want to look at 487 images. All they need to see is like 10 or 20 images that show them, oh, yep, you know, this is kind of the work that she's done.
She knows what she's doing.
Exactly, that she's worked with. These are the clients that she's worked with, you know, and when you're doing commercial work, and you want to book that sort of work, you want to have those branded images in your portfolio on your website. And what I mean by branded images is, you know, if you go to a magazine or look at a billboard and it will have, you know, Subway on there or whoever the client was, that is better to post that on your website than the behind the scenes shot of the gorgeous model who you did the hair and makeup on. Because those clients, as I said, they don't understand makeup. They don't speak makeup speak. What they see is, what they want to see is who you've worked with. And when I first was moving into commercial and editorial work, I would go and have meetings with photographers as they're looking through my book. I had a book then, it was a portfolio. Yeah. Who shot this? Who shot this? They want to know who you've worked with. That is, you know, what's really important to those decision makers. So
it's good to have that stuff as well on your website. Should you, when you're posting things, it's a good idea to post, you know, who, basically the list of people that produce that photo. Is it a good idea to have that?
You don't necessarily have to have that, but it is a good idea to either have a link to your CV, if you have a CV, or have a list of the clients that you've worked with. If you've worked with celebrities, have that list. But then, you know, like I read some people's celebrity lists and I don't recognize a single name on there. So, you know, if you've done 1 or 2 jobs with a B-grade actor from some reality TV show, then probably leave that off. Unless you've got like actual household name, celebrities. And celebrity doesn't just mean someone that's on TV or a singer. That can be politicians, sports people, that sort of thing. I do quite a bit of work with sports people.
You do with the netball, don't you? You do the netball quite a bit, commentators.
Well, I don't do the netballers, I do the commentators.
No, the commentators,
yeah.
That's what I mean.
So, you know, having a list of those people, if other people are going to know who they are, having a list of the publications where your work has appeared, you know, those sort of things are valuable too when you're trying to attract, you know, paid work. So, you know, you always talk in bridal about tailoring your portfolio to the client, the bride that you're trying to attract. It's the same with commercial. You know, your portfolio needs to speak to, and not just the images, but the whole website needs to speak to the people that you're trying to attract. And in that case, those decision makers are generally other photographers, you know, as I say, producers. It's not the person that's sitting in your chair.
No, I love that. I love that.
Another reason why the makeup doesn't really matter. And that's the big key difference, I think, between bridal and commercial and editorial. In bridal, the person sitting in your chair is the person who is paying you and who's the decision maker. In commercial, it's not. The person who sits in your chair is fairly irrelevant, you know.
Yeah, okay, I love that. All right, that's really clarified something. Thank you. And also, so basically, let's we'll go back to the question then. So whether we should have separate, but no, it's all been really informative. But I think what we're saying is that really there are people out there still having 2 separated websites, one for bridal, one for their TV commercial, film work, etc.
Exactly, because you are attracting a different client with each one. So, you know, you can have one homepage and then filter people off.
Yes.
I don't know that you have to have 2 completely separate.
Pay for whole new websites each. But
exactly. But just, and you know, this is what I've done with, I've just, as I said, just gone through that rebranding, and I've just, you know, my homepage now says, are you looking for a makeup artist? And from there, it directs them to my makeup website, where they can either be then looking for a commercial makeup artist, or are you a bride? And then the other part is, are you a makeup artist looking for help with running your business? So that sends them to my education. So that's what, you know, one of the girls who I coach asked that question yesterday. She's, you know, does bridal and commercial, and she's also a photographer, and she does all so many things. And the suggestion we made is, why not just have a homepage? This is who I am, and then I'm looking for a bridal makeup artist, I'm looking for this, you know, and then people just click on those buttons and they're diverted to a separate,
the right areas
section.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, even if people just do have the one site, and I see this a lot with makeup artists, that they'll have one site, they want to book commercial work, so they have separated out the actual image galleries, but then they talk about services, and all it's a big list of bridal stuff, and down the bottom they might just have, you know, commercial rates available on request, half day and full day. So, you know, I think that to me it looks like, oh, this is a bridal artist who's happy to do a bit of commercial.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's understanding the purpose of your website and who it's actually speaking to. So yeah.
Oh, I'm a big advocate for funneling on our website. So, you know, like exactly what you're saying, going front page that basically says, like, do you want to book me for commercial work, or do you want to book me for makeup? And then it's like, click which one do you want to do. And then the commercial people go through the commercial side. They see everything that they need to see. So what we're saying is we need to tailor that then towards what we want to do in the industry, and who we'd like to attract as far as on that commercial side of things. And then on our other side, which is exactly what I say, which is tailor it towards the type of bride that you want to attract in the bridal industry. We've got to be happy in our work, guys. Don't be putting yourself out there to just attract any and everyone, because you will end up miserable. Because that's how I think we get a lot of burnout as well, because we're doing things that really don't make us happy. And yet a few little tweaks to your social media, a few little tweaks to your website about what you really, really want to do and what you're really passionate about can change absolutely everything. And you start attracting great clients, clients that make you happy, clients that you enjoy working with, other people that you enjoy working with. So Sue and I are saying you don't have to have completely separate websites, but you do need to have separated areas on your website that are targeted towards your customer, whether that be a commercial client, editorial client, or your bridal special occasion clients.
Yeah, exactly.
So
here's the interesting, there's one little thing I want to add into that, Dawn, is that when you are doing commercial and editorial work, that can sometimes help with bride attraction. Yes, and here's the thing that I have noticed in my career is that, you know, the number of times that I've been there and I've got a bridesmaid in the chair who doesn't know who I am. I'm just some old lady that's doing her makeup. And the bride will come up and says something like, oh, did you know Sue worked on blah, blah, blah? Or did you know Sue does, works for Channel 9 or whatever? And, you know, it's like, you can actually see that bridesmaid or that person in the chair kind of almost sit up and go, oh, you know, and it's like her estimation of me goes from here to, you know, goes right up. So having some of those images, and obviously you don't want to put those images in your bridal portfolio, but do let your brides know that you also do that sort of work, because again, that kind of perception, and of course that doesn't mean I'm any better makeup artist than someone that has only ever done brides at all, but it's that perception, which to a lot of people, perception is reality. So their estimation of you can tend to go up a little bit when they find out that you've had your work published in magazines, that you've worked on TV, that you've done an advertising campaign and that sort of thing. So do let those brides know. So in your bridal site, have a little link that says something like, want to know what I'm doing when I'm not doing weddings? I also work on blah, 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 blah. Click here and they can go over and see that sort of work if they so want to.
Yeah. And again, when we're saying as well, working even and doing editorial work as well, that could be that you're doing bridal editorial work. Like you could be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not even just about the fact of any of you out there. It's actually hopefully then encouraging you to submit your work to magazines. Now, Sue, I know you've actually done, I think you've done maybe even a blog post on that, haven't you, about submitting your work submitting your work to magazines, getting published. I think it was about, wasn't it, about getting your work published. But that doesn't mean that we're saying now that you have to now, if you don't want to do this, it's not about saying to you guys, oh, you need to be to make yourself more appealing to your brides that you should be doing commercial editorial work. It could just be that you've had some work published in some bridal magazines, that one of your couples that you did a shoot with for their engagement got into a magazine or got online, even an online publication, Easy Weddings, The Knot, The Wire, any of those places that have got Polka Dot Bride, they've got they've got blogs and stuff. This is what we're talking about, being published. So you're saying, tell your brides that. Tell them the things that you do and you get up to that are not just about your everyday wedding. So if you are doing work with photography, even if it's wedding work, share that information with your clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Sue, I wanted to ask you then, so let's wrap this up. I know I said to you, could you give us some kind of tips and tricks when it comes to producing a portfolio? What is it that what is it that for paid work, I guess, what are they actually looking for? Now, I know you touched on before the fact that they're looking at the whole photo, but what are the things that we can do to create a portfolio that is worth looking at?
Okay, yeah. So I think and I've covered a fair bit of this, but I'll try and kind of pinpoint these tips quite succinctly here. So tip number one is start where you're at. So if you are a makeup artist or hairstylist who's just starting out, or whether you've been doing brides for 10 years, start where you're at with creating a portfolio of commercial/editorial work. So go on to those Facebook groups where creatives hang out and get involved in some of those test shoots, time for prints, and just start creating that sort of work. Now, some of it might be in studio, some of it might be on location, but just where you're working with a model and a team of other people. Once you've kind of got some good images there, so your goal when you're starting out should be to get to the point where you're working with working photographers as opposed to student photographers or hobby photographers, but you're working with photographers who are actually getting paid for photos as well. And agency models. So that's kind of step one to get to that level. Once you're at that level, it's about submitting images for publication, whether that is online magazines or print magazines. And that's a whole nother conversation that we could have of how to go about that. But once then you start getting that published work, is displaying that published work. And again, the branded images. So, with the words on them from the magazine. We used to call them tear sheets because you'd tear them out of magazines. Nowadays, we call them digital tears, and it's usually you'll get a PDF of the page from the magazine. So displaying that in your portfolio. And from there, so two things happen when you get to that level. So you're working with these working photographers who will then see your work when you're working on test shoots with them, and hopefully then book you for some of their paid shoots. But also those other decision makers are going to see that, oh, she's at that level where her work is being published in magazines. So, you kind of then may get called to work on those jobs. And the other thing is it's all about networking. So as you're doing this, you're meeting stylists, you're meeting photographers, as I said, so you start to kind of build up this network of people that start to refer you out on jobs as well. And that's the whole concept of testing up and building your portfolio there. My second tip was, again, to be considering all of the elements of your images. So if you're not sure how to self-critique your own work, you might be able to look at the makeup and see what's good there. But if you can't, if you're not sure of that image as a whole, get someone who can help you with knowing what images to have in your portfolio and what images to take out. I get a lot of people that come to me for portfolio reviews and they've got some great work, but it's buried way below. So that brings me on to tip number 3, which is all killer, no filler. You want to start with that super amazing image that just makes people go, oh my God, that's amazing. And it could be a really clean, no makeup look, but it's a great image. So, that's what's really important there. For your website, when you are trying to attract commercial and editorial work, you don't want to have your iPhone photos. So it should just be the professional images. Take all the iPhone photos you want in the world and get them all over your Instagram stories and all over your Instagram, because that, again, and a lot of younger clients are going to social media to look for people. So we can't say anymore that commercial clients will only book someone through their website.
Yeah, I was
bigger
gonna ask
commercial
that.
clients, bigger commercial clients will, older commercial clients will, but there is this thing with, and particularly with a lot of e-commerce, you know, and that's kind of a big part of the industry now, which is something that didn't happen 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of those clients are young. They're very much into social media. So, you know, they want to see that sort of stuff on your social media as well, that behind the scenes stuff. But, you know, so definitely do have that stuff, but use those two different platforms, your website and your social media, for, you know, I think it's fantastic that we've got the opportunity to go, this is what I'm working on right now, because with commercial and editorial, there's often quite a long wait before you actually get those professional images. And then, you know, just remember that website, this is my greatest hits. This is the top 10, 15, 20, 30 images that showcase my career as a whole. You know, and you don't have to be updating it every 5 minutes. You don't have to update it every 5 weeks. You only update it when you've got something better than something else on that website.
Yeah.
You know, once you get it to that point, you're like, okay, this is better than a lot of the other images. So I'm going to put that one in and I'm going to take out the weakest link. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so now final question then, which may again take us on a tangent, but social media then. So I think that when we're creating our portfolios, our social media portfolios for bridal, on Instagram and on Facebook, I think that we should show everything that we do. Now, I still think that we need to gear our bridal work towards the type of bride that we want to attract. So, you know, if it's a boho bride, then we want to talk about, you know, waves, and we want to talk about, you know, maybe glowy skin, and we want to talk about flowers in their hair, and etc., etc. But if you do commercial work as well, I don't think that there's any harm in, like you're saying, is adding that in and just saying, hey, you know, yes, I do bridal, and this is perhaps my bridal business stuff, but I do other things as well, like you're saying, about just kind of showing the other side of yourself. It's still you're still being genuine, and it's still you. But I guess my question is though, is that if you do see, because I feel like with bridal, like you can add in those little bits of extra. I think it should be predominantly bridal, but then you add in those little extra things that you do, which make you. But obviously when it comes to kind of that commercial side, should there be a separate Instagram, Facebook page for your commercial clients to see? Like you're saying, those young entrepreneurs that, you know, they want to shoot their products and their images, and they need faces and they need models and stuff to promote their stuff. And like you're saying, they're looking on social media, but if they see that you are kind of doing mainly bridal, or again, it's about, I'm asking you, and I guess it's like, you know, how long's a piece of string sometimes, because who knows the answer. But how do you feel about separating out social media as well?
Again, it comes down to the market that you're in.
Right,
you know,
what
if you're in a larger market.
Yeah. Okay.
Your location, I'm talking about
yes,
there.
Yes. Like, okay, where you are. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're in a location which can support a full-time commercial career, then I think perhaps you do want to have them separated. If you are, you know, if you're not, then I think it's okay to have them together. Having said that, I know that a lot of makeup artists do have, and I had a separate Instagram, Brides by Sue McLaren, which I haven't updated in ages. You know, I don't even really kind of look at it that often. And I think it needs to be kind of, if someone's coming to your Instagram, you know, and they are seeing bride, commercial, bride, commercial, they're going to, if it's a commercial person, they're going to go away. A bride or not, they'll be like, oh, okay.
Oh, and she does that too. Yeah.
But if someone is just coming to your Instagram and seeing makeup, and then it's not clear whether it's a bride from the image. I mean, obviously once they go and read the captions, but if they just come to your profile and they're just seeing photos of makeup, then I think, you know, that's okay. Like an example that I like to use is look at someone like Mia Connor, right? So she's got this amazing following She does a lot of commercial work. Obviously, she's an influencer now, so there's that side of her business as well. But she also does probably 50 brides a year. So she's a busy bridal artist as well. But you don't often see the brides on her, on her Instagram. She does have a separate bridal Instagram, which she only just started up a little while ago. But, so a bride will still book you if they're just seeing photos of beautiful makeup. They don't need to see that it's a bride, it's a bride, it's a bride. What a bride is looking at. So that's the difference there. When I talked before about commercial clients not understanding makeup speak and them not being the person that's sitting in your chair, the difference with the bride is she is the one sitting in the chair. She wants to know that that's what this makeup is going to look like on my face. Now, of course, often it's not about what the makeup is going to look like on their face. They want to look like that girl in the image.
Yeah.
So that takes a whole other rabbit hole of,
it's a dangerous place to be in for makeup artists.
Yeah, exactly. It's that that's a whole nother conversation, but about whether we post photos of real people or whether we post photos of young, gorgeous models. But, let's not go down that
let's not go down that rabbit hole. We could be here forever. Yeah.
But what your brides do want to see is obviously the most beautiful makeup.
Is image.
They are looking at the makeup. They're not looking at the whole part of the image.
So they're not looking. I feel like brides these days as well, though, they're looking, yes, they want to know that you can do the job, but I think as well, it's important because to be to kind of mix things up a bit so that you're more personable as well, because I think that brides have a choice. Let's face it, there's a lot of beauty professionals around that could do the job that they want them to do. And you're right, if they're interested in the makeup and making sure that you can actually make them look as amazing as they want to on wedding day. But I guess I kind of think that by breaking up those images in our social with a little bit more about, the person doing the job, and like you're saying,
absolutely
that I do weddings, but then I also do commercial. So I kind of like the idea. And look, you know what, like you're saying, I think it's going to come down to the fact of how dominant is commercial work, and how much do you want to do? Is this something that you actually want to grow? Is this something where you're totally serious about it and you want to make it a predominant part of your income? And you and I are always saying to people about diversifying their income. I've said it many times before that bridal does bring in money, it really does, but there's a point with yourself doing the brides where you're going to get to a ceiling where you physically can't be in multiple locations at once. So so you're going to hit the ceiling of, well, I can't earn any more personally. So what does that mean? Well, you need to grow a team, or you need to have you need to have a team around you that can help you so you can do more weddings, or you need to have other teams that are doing weddings under your umbrella, or you need to have commercial work where you're bringing in an income that way, or perhaps you're like you said before about teaching. So you and I are both talk about having, diversifying income and having more than just one stream of I just do makeup. But I think that what we're saying is that you need to look at where you are, what the kind of work that you want to do, who are you attracting to do this work, and then decide where you need to be, because that will then determine whether you need to be on Instagram, because you are trying to get the millennials that are bringing out all of their digital products and all that kind of stuff, so they know that you need to be in a presence. Or are you still trying to do the sort of the more old school where you want to go into maybe TV or fashion or just down that kind of line of commercial work? So this has been such an interesting conversation. Thank you so much. I've learned so much about it, and I feel a bit more placed to say, go listen to my podcast with Sue. She'll be able to tell you exactly what we think. But thank you so much for answering all my questions today.
There's just one more point that I want to add in there too, Dawn. And I know this is something that you say, so I want to kind of support what you say, because it is something that I teach as well, is that particularly with brides, but also with commercial clients, but more so with brides, is to remember that they are booking a person.
Yeah.
They're not booking a logo.
No.
And I find that a lot of makeup artists and hairstylists hide behind their logo. Like they're on Instagram, their little, you know, their bio picture is a picture of their logo. People are not hiring the logo. They're hiring you.
Yes.
They want to know who you are. You are going to be within that 4 feet, which is their personal space. So it's important that they not only know and like you, but that they trust you.
Absolutely.
And we have such an amazing opportunity to build that trust, that know, like, and trust with our social media by showing our face. So that is not just in the tiles, but get in your stories, show your face. You don't have to show every meal you ate and every waking moment of your life, but every now and again, show who you are as a person, because that's who people are booking. They are not booking brushes and products. They're booking the person who is going to be within their personal space.
Yeah, 100%. Show up. People buy from people.
Yeah.
It's all about the person. If they don't like and trust the person, they're not going to book you. So,
no, the makeup then becomes irrelevant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How good you are doesn't mean a thing if you don't create that rapport with your client.
Exactly.
And like you say, we have such a good opportunity now too to do that.
Yeah, and this is how that relates to commercial work. Again, commercial decision makers don't understand makeup speak. What they're looking for is how this person behaves on set. Now, I've seen some of the most incredibly talented makeup artists not get booked on set because they don't know how to deal with people and they don't know how to network. And some other makeup artists who are not the greatest makeup artists in the world be regularly booked because they're a great person to have on set. They know how to behave. They know the set etiquette, and the people that make the decisions know that if we get that person, the shoot is going to run really smoothly.
Yeah.
So, that's it. Who you are as a person and how you do your job is almost as important as what you do when you've got the brush in your hand. Yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely. I completely agree. Well, Sue, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Thank you for coming again onto the podcast. I'm so happy that you have been my co-host today. So guys, if anyone wants to get to know a little bit more about Sue, then please go ahead and check out the last episode of my interview with her, which was back in, would have been back in 2017, maybe, Sue. 18
yeah.
that we talked. So we will do an updated one. I can promise you that. We'll bring Sue back on. Don't forget as well to check out the Bridal Beauty Pro app. Just go to your app store and download it from there. It's an awesome app to help stylists, hairstylists and makeup artists keep their weddings in track, basically keep their life in order when it comes to their bridal clients. Sue, as usual, absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. To find more about Sue, where can they find you?
So the best place is to go to my all brand new website, which is at SueLouise.com. And there will be links in there to my socials, because the socials haven't actually changed their branding and their names yet. So, it kind of all takes a little bit of a while, but go to my website, SueLouise.com, and you'll find links to everything there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Dawn. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Sue. Bye for now.
Bye.